Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to my channel, to my bookland, and I'm here today to talk to you about all of the things, all of the books that I read in the month of August.
It's coffee time!
Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting to be able to read more books because I had 2 weeks of holidays, but I did end up spending most of the time with my parents and my friends, and so I didn't have as much time as I wanted to read, but that is perfectly fine because we need to remember to spend time with the people we love. And I only see my parents around 3 times a year because they live in Spain and I live in Germany, so I did focus on spending as much time with them as possible. So I still managed to read 10 books, 10 things, which it is pretty good number, and I am excited to tell you about the things that I read. It were mostly kind of average things, so not so yay for that, but I did discover a couple of things that I enjoyed, so let's go to the list. As always, here in my channel we rate books with coffee mugs, and we're also going to start from my lowest rating to the highest one, so we always end up with a good note. Also, most of the books that I have to talk to you about, actually I got ebooks for them because I was gonna be on holidays, and some of them were given to me by Netgalley. First, I have Along for the Ride by Mimi Grace. I gave this one 3 coffee mugs, but I was really considering giving it 2.5. The reason being is that this is kind of pitched as a road trip, and it's not really. The road trip, it's like 10% or 15% of the book at the very beginning, and after that it's not a road trip anymore. And the cover, as you can see, it's kind of also pushing that kind of road trip adventure, and that's why I thought it was going to be good for this summer. It's still a cute contemporary romance, but I felt like I was lied to. So we're basically following these 2 main characters that hate each other. We are following Jojo, and her sister is moving with her husband and she wants to help with the move, and she goes to help and ends up being paired with her arch nemesis, someone she always hated, and this guy is put together with her in a car to help move some of the furniture to the new place, and they get stuck somewhere in the road because they have some issues with the van. And it's kind of this hate to love relationship. That's also one of the things that made me believe I was going to enjoy this book, but it ended up being like sometimes the couple dynamics were a little bit weird, and some characters starting to behave in a way that for me didn't fit the character anymore. So those were the issues that I had with it, and also the fact that I thought it was going to be a road trip, but that was only the very beginning of the book. That kind of deflated the happiness and excitement balloon for me. I think sometimes happens when you go into a book with expectations of something that you're really in the mood for, and then you don't really get that. It also might influence a little bit on the rating, so that is why instead of 2.5, I decided to round it up to 3 coffee mugs, because I mean it was fine, but it was nothing special, and it was nothing that I would reread. With 3 coffee mugs, we have The Bookish Life of Nina Hall by Abby Waxman, and I thought this was gonna be 5 stars for me just because it's about a bookworm that works in a bookshop, and she is not really good with people. She's kind of like a loner and lives alone with her books and her cat, and I was like, this is for me. And it was also going to include sort of like a hate to love relationship, but it was not as strong hate to love as I thought it was gonna be. I did enjoy the way that the book was edited, like the chapters included like pieces of her agenda, because she's very OCD and she likes to plan all her weeks and stuff, and I appreciated all of the references to books, like all the bookish references, and there were many pop culture references like Star Trek, Star Wars, and a lot of other things like Friends and other things. I did get bothered at the very beginning, and I tweeted about this, that she said, or one character said at the very beginning, that Star Wars is the same thing as Star Trek. I mean, excuse me, like, I beg your pardon? And I was like, girl, oh hell no, you just did not say that. It's something, you know, it's like a very dangerous place to go to with me, because I always enjoyed the original Star Wars movies, and for me, after episode 8, the franchise has died. And I've never seen Star Wars as really science fiction. I always saw it more as an adventure with a little bit maybe of sci-fi, just because they have like ships, spaceships. But Star Trek, it is the real true science fiction, and Star Trek and Star Wars have really nothing to do with each other. So saying that it's the same thing kind of like upset me, like, can you tell? So the main story is this. Nina Hill was really pleased with her life. She worked in a bookstore, had some book clubs, joined some book trivia also contest, and suddenly her life turns upside down as she meets Tom, who is part of another group that goes to the trivia matches and becomes kind of her enemy, and she also starts to like him. And on the other hand, she never knew who her father was, and suddenly she gets a visit from a lawyer saying that her father has passed away, and she has been, you know, called to join the family for the reading of the will. And so she discovers she has all of these families she never knew of, and so those things give her anxiety. And for me, the anxiety representation in the book was not really great, so that's why I took points off on the rating. And also, everything was solved very easily. When there was a little bit of conflict, you were not even worried, and that is why I only gave it 3 coffee mugs. With 3.5 coffee mugs, we have Roomies by Christina Lauren, and I went into the book just reading the title. I didn't even read the synopsis on the back, so I was under the impression this was gonna be about some roommates. But boy, was I wrong. We're following the story of Holland, and she has been basically raised by her uncle, who is a gay man that is married to another gay man. And I love that representation. It was super cute. And basically one day she finds this really brilliant musician in the underground, and she falls in love with him and kind of stalks him a little bit. And something like, there is this opportunity that presents for him to be able to join the theater that her uncles work at, and it kind of evolves into a fake marriage situation, which is a topic that I really love in books. So I really love that aspect. But towards the end of the book, our main character Holland started to make decisions that didn't fit her character so much, and I ended up enjoying the first part of the book way more than the second part, so it didn't leave me with that you know, good feeling in the end. And so I was kind of mad at Holland towards the ends of the book, and that's why I only gave it a 3.5 rating. Then we have Pride, Prejudice, and Poison by Elizabeth Blake, and this I gave also 3.5 coffee mugs. And it is kind of like a cute contemporary thriller, and if you've seen books like this cover before and you've read them, you know what they're about. They're kind of my guilty pleasure. They're nothing too special or intriguing, but I kind of like them, and I think I need to blame the covers, because they really make me get the books. I was, you know, lucky enough to get this one from Netgalley, and I really like it. So we're in a small town, and there is just Jane Austen society, and they have meetings and all of that, and it's in a bookstore, so I thought, you know, perfect. And somebody gets poisoned one day while they're having a meeting, and somebody has put poison in the tea, and there is a woman that gets killed that night. And so it evolves there here on an investigation of who killed this woman, because more than one person in the town had reasons to kill her. So, you know, nothing way too special or anything, but it was really entertaining. It is fast-paced, and it is definitely a really cool thriller. And I don't know, these are guilty pleasures for me, but if you like these kind of thrillers, this one came out last July, so make sure to check it out. Another 3.5 coffee mug rating. It is Violet by Scott Thomas, and this book is actually being released on the 24th of September, but I got a copy thanks to Netgalley, and this book is over 400 pages. It is a thriller slash horror book, and I was really excited about that, also because in the cover you can see creepy twins or children, and I was like, yes. And I have to say, I enjoyed this thriller, but I had mixed feelings about it. It is about this woman that lost her mom when she was a kid, and her mother died of cancer, so she had to see how her mother deteriorated and ended up dying. And then she lost also the father of her child in a car accident, so she's left alone with her little girl, and she decides to move to the summer lake house that the family used in order for her daughter to be able to recover from losing the father. And while she moves back in there, a lot of memories start to come back from her childhood, and she starts to uncover a past from the town where she realizes that little girls have been disappearing through the years, and most of them were found dead. And so she starts kind of digging into that, and it becomes a really eerie, spooky kind of thriller. And also we get kind of like the haunted house kind of situation in this lake house, plus the whole story about the lake and how the lake became what it is today. I thought it was really interesting. The two things that I didn't like so much, and it kind of decided that I was gonna rate this book only 3.5, is that on the one side we didn't get too much background on the stories of the other girls that were lost. We got like a very brief, quick explanation of what happened, but I would have loved to hear more about them, especially in such a long book. But also the book was very slow paced. It was a very slow burn, so you gotta be somebody that likes to read slow paced books. For me, this one was okay because I really liked the story that he was telling me, but it was all told very slowly, bit by bit. So just keep that in mind if you're gonna go into this thriller. Another 3.5 coffee mug is The Right Swipe by Alicia Rai. So here, disclaimers for abuse and mobbing, and I love this story because it is the, you know, powerful story of a very successful businesswoman that had to fight all her life to be able to be where she is at and be respected. And so we're following the story of this woman that has created this app for the phone for dating called Right Swipe. And you know, it's kind of another hate to love relationship, which, you know, I'm a sucker for them. And I love to see also a lot of different representation in the book. And basically she meets this guy that is part of the competition, and they like each other more than they would like to, and they kind of start this hate to love relationship, and I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed that the book took it a step further and gave us a lot of background from both sides, from his side and her side, and you kind of felt like you were connecting with the characters. Then I gave 4 coffee mugs to The Bright Test by Helen Huang, and this is the Kiss Quotient number 2. And basically I just like the representation of this one. We have a male called Kai. He was born in the US, but his family is from Vietnam, and his mom is worried because he's getting older and he has a problem socializing with people, getting along with people. He has a little bit of autism, and so the mother decides to, you know, find him a girlfriend. So she, while she's in Vietnam, she brings back this girl to basically put them to live together and give them a deadline to tell her if they're gonna marry or not. So I love that trope, this kind of like fake marriage, fake relationship, kind of, you know, arranged marriage thing. I really like that, and I really enjoyed the book. There were a couple of things towards the end that I might have not been so 100% agreeing to, but nevertheless it was a great book. Loved it and gave it 4 coffee mugs. Then we have He Will Find You by Charlie Gallagher, and I also got this one from Netgalley, and I'm so happy. I'm definitely gonna read more by this author because I absolutely love this story. It ended up being more gory and disgusting than I expected, so those were plus points. And I absolutely love the character development here. We're following a very kind of used characters here, because we have in the police department, we have like the old police guy that has been there all his life with investigations of murders, and he knows everything and he's grumpy. And then we have this girl, this woman that is kind of like younger and always pushing a little bit harder, taking things way more seriously, and I absolutely love their dynamic, even though, like I said, it's a very typical thing that they do to put an experienced old policeman or woman and somebody that's a little bit more fresh meat. And I loved that chemistry between them. And I also love that we're kind of investigating cases that look like they're different ones, but from the very beginning it's clear to us that they belong to the same case, and everything starts to fit like a puzzle, and I loved it. But keep in mind, it's bloody, disgusting, and there is some body horror here as well, so just keep that in mind when you go into it. We're moving to 4.5 coffee mug rating, and we have The Diviners by Liva Bray. And I got this book because, you know, it's a series that I've always been putting off. I think this whole change of cover 3 times and all of that was kind of putting me off, and the books are kind of chunky. But then some very lovely people from the booktube community decided to do a read-along of the whole series, since the new and last book in the series is coming out soon. So I decided to just do it, and I don't regret it at all. It's a fantastic adventure. We are in the 1920s, and we're following the story of this young girl that has a gift, and every time she touches an object that belongs to somebody, she can see different things from that person, from their past, things that happened related to that object. And I thought that was fascinating. And because she's always kind of acting out, her parents sent her to her uncle, and I think it's kind of weird that they sent her to a big city where she can get in way more trouble. But anyways, they sent her there, and her uncle works in a museum of the supernatural, which we all love. And it kind of goes into this huge adventure trying to stop a serial killer. So it has so many different things. We have superpowers, we have serial killers, we have time travel. Like, there's everything in this book, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm gonna be reading the second book in the month of September, and I am just so excited for it. And the one that got 5 coffee mugs is The Tea Dragon Festival by Katie O'Neill, and this is the second book following the Tea Dragon Society. I was so lucky I got a copy of these from Netgalley because it's not coming out until the 17th of September. And if you don't love this graphic novel, I don't know who you are. Do you even have a heart? It is this magical, beautiful, full of wonderful representation book about these dragons that they're kind of like bohemians, and they grow leaves, and basically those leaves can be used to make magical tea, and it's just fantastic. And in this book we get to know a little bit more about the history behind the original dragons that later on kind of evolved into the tea dragons, and the graphics are just amazing, and I could only give it 5 coffee mugs. And those were the 10 things that I read in the month of August. Let me know down below what you thought about the books that I have mentioned, and let me know as well what is the best book that you read in the month of August. Let me know down below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate your support. Please give the video a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to hit on the notification bell so you don't miss any more coffee times with me. And I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!